Mr. Speaker, in Manitoba, the NDP government is failing to improve the business conditions and to reduce the regulatory burdens on businesses. This was evident this morning when Rana Bokhari, for example, spoke at the Manitoba Chamber of Commerce breakfast.
Who's that?
One of the essentials in reducing the regulatory burden, this NDP orange tape, is knowing that the amount of it in our province, which results from the provincial government activities. I asked the Premier, has he measured the amount of orange tape which is tying the hands of Manitobans trying to establish or run a business in our province?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I can see why the member opposite wants to avoid the expression red tape. I know that. I understand that. Mr. Speaker, small businesses have had zero taxes in Manitoba, up to $425,000. That's the ultimate red tape, Mr. Speaker, reduction, because they don't have to pay any taxes. No forms have to be filled out, Mr. Speaker. They get to do the job properly. They don't have to remit taxes in Manitoba on the first $425,000. And on the first $500,000 of income of a small business in Manitoba, the lowest rates in the country, Mr. Speaker. There is a place for proper regulation, and the member has asked for me questions on that. What do we do to regulate protecting Lake Winnipeg? We've brought in some very tough laws, Mr. Speaker, to stop phosphorus going into Lake Winnipeg, because we believe the Lake Winnipeg should be a healthy lake, and there needs to be regulations to do that. So will the member let us know which regulations he supports and which regulations he does not support, Mr. Speaker?
I support good regulations, but not the massive regulations that this government brings in. While the CFIB rates Manitobans' NDP as a laggard, the Liberal government in British Columbia has been a leader in reducing their regulatory burden. In the CFIB report, British Columbia is shown as having very strong political leadership to reduce their regulatory burdens. The orange tape built up in BC by a previous NDP government. Here's an example. The number of regulatory requirements has been reduced in BC by 42% since 2001, when the province first started measuring it.
No question.
When will this NDP government start measuring the orange tape burden it has imposed on people in Manitoba?
Mr. Speaker, we've just modernized all the liquor laws in Manitoba. We've reduced the number of permits from over 13 down to above 4. At the same time, we've increased the social responsibility requirements for those serving liquor to members of the public, so that the public is better protected from practices which encourage overconsumption. But on the other hand, we've created more opportunities for live entertainment in these venues, because we have a very flourishing arts scene in Manitoba, and we have many young artists that could be exposed in performances to Manitobans and create a healthier atmospheres in restaurants and cabarets and hotels. All of these things are intended to improve the quality of life in Manitoba. We use regulation to improve the quality of life. We reduce regulation where it's redundant and no longer necessary. Another example, Mr. Speaker, we harmonized the road requirements for big trucks moving across borders to encourage more trade east and west in this country. So we've reduced and harmonized the regulations for the axle weights of trucks going across borders. Where it makes sense, we'll reduce regulations. Where it makes sense,
the Honourable First Minister's time has expired.
Mr. Speaker, while Manitoba's NDP government strangles businesses with orange tape, the Liberal government in British Columbia has implemented a regulatory policy checklist which is designed to make sure all new regulatory measures put in place actually make sense. As well, the Liberal government of BC is planning a public consultation on additional items to measure and assess their regulatory burden this year. I asked the Premier, when will his NDP government implement a regulatory policy checklist and hold public consultations on reducing Manitobans' orange tape?
Every regulation that's brought forward is tested for whether there will be a public benefit for it. When we brought in the new home warranty program in Manitoba to protect Manitoba families from the most expensive purchase they make, we made sure that warranty program will ensure that if families buying a new home in this province will get a good quality product. we worked for years with the industry to make sure that they supported that warranty program. One of the better warranty programs in the country, Mr. Speaker. Is he against that form of regulation? I hope not. When we brought in regulatory improvements to when you buy a new vehicle in Manitoba, the price you see on the new vehicle is the price you pay. The industry supported that. Manitobans support that. Is he opposed to that form of regulation, Mr. Speaker? Is he opposed to the regulation to protect Lake Winnipeg? Is he opposed to the regulation that was just tabled in the House yesterday, a law to prevent young people from consuming flavored tobacco? Let him speak if he's opposed to regulations that protect the health of Manitobans, that protect the purchasing power of Manitobans, that protect the wages of Manitobans, Mr. Speaker, and protect the environment of Manitobans. All of those things make life better for families
Order,
and
please.
keep
The
the
Honourable
economy.
First Minister's time has expired.